Well, hello friends, and good evening and welcome to the Little Farmer's Farm with me, Guru Murphinda, aka Tony. Now on today's episode we're going to be looking at free plant feed. At this moment in time in the world there's a bit of a drought on for fertiliser. Now most of the industrial growers will be using the chemical fertilisers that are produced in, at the moment, the war-torn section of Europe. The Ukraine and Russia produces a lot of fertiliser. Now it's a really bad situation over there, as we all know at the moment. But for us, we don't tend to use that kind of fertiliser. We tend to use the organic stuff. And luckily for us, Mother Nature provides. And she provides in abundance. So we're going to be doing some nettle tea today. We're also going to be using eggshells to create calcium. And I'll talk to you a little bit about Comfrey too, although not too much about Comfrey. But first of all, we're going to be planting and replacing some hawthorn at the plots, hawthorn hedgerows, and yeah, doing a good weed up and a tidy up of the beds, especially Bradley's bed, which is going to be extended and widened and turned into a big brassica tent in the end. But anyway, let's go and join the guru up at the plots. I'll see you there. Bye. Yeah, so there's lots to do on the little farm today. First job is to fix a hole in our hedgerow. We've got hawthorn hedges around the plot, and there's a hole in it. I'll show you. There's a gap. Now luckily, Pat, the allotment secretary, has given us a couple of whips. Not because I've been naughty, you know, like lashes across the back. It's these are hawthorn whips. There they are in the bucket. Now they're only young yet, but eventually they'll fill out and hopefully fill our gap in our fence. So I've just dug a hole for them there. I'm just going to plop them in and bed them in. Job's a good one. There we go. In 6 months' time, no one will ever know there'd been a gap there. They'll all bush out and fill the gap. Top banana. Okay, so that's the fence sorted. Next job, a monumental weeding project going on there in Bradley's cage. All that's got to be cleared out. All the weeds have got to come out. I'm going to try and get as much of this bindweed out as I possibly can, but the nettles are going to be a pain, aren't they? Look at all those nettles there, stinging nettles. It's a pity we're not doing stinging nettle wine or stinging nettle beer, because there'll be plenty to go out there. Have a look at that actually. Have a check on YouTube, stinging nettle beer. It's a thing. Right, anyway, we're going to clear all that out. So I'll catch you in about an hour. So we might not be making nettle beer or nettle wine, but we can certainly make stinging nettle tea. Plant food tea, that is. Full of nitrogen. Very good for the brassicas that will be going into here. So if we start them now, in about a month's time, start the tea now, in about a month's time, it'll be ready to be used as a feed. So let's get cracking on with that. But first we'll have to empty out the eggshells that are in the bucket, and that'll be for the calcium powder we're going to be making. We'll make some calcium powder as well from the eggshells. Let's crack on. So that's our bucket full of eggshells, as you can see there. Now these were baked in the oven at a quite high heat for about 5 minutes, and that just gets rid of all the nasties, any salmonella and what have you. So they're all ready now to be ground up into powder for calcium, a calcium additive. Helps with the roots, assists with blossom end rot and things like that on your tomato plants and your cucumbers. Assists to prevent it, that is. So let's get these all ground up now. Now I'm inside the solar powered Tiki hut, which is our shed. resplendent with its lights and all the lot. We've got solar energy that's provided by the 200 watt solar panels that are on the roof of the shed, and it's feeding into the charge controllers, and they then feed into the batteries and the inverter. So we've got 240 volt energy that we're going to utilize. Now I've put the shells, or some of the egg shells, into this little container, and that gets put onto our grinder that we've got. I'll show you. So this is like a little food processor type of thing that goes on top of there. I'll screw that on in a second, and then that'll go into there, and we'll start the grinding process. Okay, hit the button, and we'll grind them down. Okay, that's a fine powder of mostly calcium that the eggshells were made out of, and as you can see there, about 10 eggshells has produced just that amount of powder. So yeah, you're going to need a lot of eggshells. Go to your local cafes and places like that where they use a lot of eggs, and they'll collect them for you, and then you can just go and pick them up. If you nip down and you're regular picking them up, just bring a bucket with you, or ask them if they can put them to one side for you in a bucket, and there you go. You should get a couple of 100 eggs every week, or rather eggshells per week. That's what we do. We're cheeky. We're not cheeky particularly. It's a byproduct of what they do. They've only got to throw them away, so why not? And the eggshells then, as I say, they're a beneficial additive to put into your soil when you're growing things, especially like the tomatoes, or even the root vegetables. So most soils are deficient in calcium, and calcium's like a key secondary nutrient for your plants. It helps the plant to absorb the water and take up the water, and also within that liquid take up, if there is calcium in there, it'll help to reinforce the cell membranes of your plant, and that's especially important when you've got fruiting vegetables such as your tomatoes and your cucumbers, peppers, anything like that. It really does assist to prevent blossom end rot, and it's helping the fruit to form, and the petals to not to fall off, and you'll actually get fruits. If it's deficient in calcium, then that doesn't happen. You can tend to kill off your plants through a lack of calcium. But a good calcium content within the soil will definitely help you with your fruiting crops. It'll draw it up the stem and get the calcium where it's needed, which is the fruited ends. It's non-migratory calcium, so it needs to be drawn up with the water as the water comes up through the stems of the plants and goes out to feed your branches and your leaf. Then that's where it comes into its own. Really, it's a good additive. 30 eggs has just given us that, which doesn't seem quite a lot, does it? There were a lot more eggs in there, but what I've done is I've crushed them up and I've put them into the compost because they're a little bit damp. They've been outside those eggshells, so the top ones are all dry, which is what you want, but the lower ones weren't, and I wasn't taking that risk, so I've crushed them all up and put them into the compost. As well, the worms need some grit in their diet to help with their digestion, and the eggshell calcium will do that for them as well. I mean, there are other forms of calcium like gypsum, lime. Lime's got calcium in it, and they're all good things to add into your soil. Lime, of course, will regulate the acidity as well, so it will bring the acidity levels down and increase your pH. So you'll go into like 7.9, 8, that kind of pH level. That's good for the brassicas. They want to be a higher pH, and for your tomatoes as well. They're not too fussy about the pH levels, but it's no bad thing to add in the calcium, definitely, which is what we're going to be doing. I've got loads more eggs at home that I'm going to grind up, but these are ones that I just that I found in that bucket. So about that bucket, we're going to move on to our nettle tea. And that's another fantastic nutritional additive for your plants, the nitrogen that you get from the nettles. Yep. Alright, so on to the stinging nettle tea. Now, the nettle tea is high in nitrogen. Nettles are also high in chlorophyll. Makes them green. So there's a deep green chlorophyll, and the plants that we're feeding with it won't turn the noses up at that either. Got the sun behind me there. Got potassium in it as well. Good levels of potassium, decent levels of calcium, which we've also got with the eggshells there. But it all helps, it all assists the plants. So the plants that are going to grow on the back of this tea that we're going to feed them will be more robust, they'll be healthier plants, they'll be more capable of fighting off diseases, in the same way that when we get good nutrition in our bodies, the plants are just like us really. They're a living organism, and they need nutrition. And the more they get, or the better quality that they get, the healthier the plants will be. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be harvesting the nettles to make the nettle tea. And yeah, produce good quality organic feed for your seedlings and plants. That's what you need. A stout pair of gloves, because they are stinging nettles. I've got the tips of the nettles. I've not actually used the stems. The stems are in there, so I've took the stems out. And I've just got the tips of the nettles, the actual leaf. You can put the stems in, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I've done it that way. There's less sort of... At the end, I'm going to put the mulch into the compost. Once it's all done, it's fermented and it's we've extracted the liquor from it. I'm going to put it in the compost, that. But the next step with this is you've got to weight it down with a brick. Okay? Or in this case, a 3/4 brick. And then we just carry it then over to our water butts and fill it up with water. Get it about an inch off the top with the water, rainwater. Yeah? So we're just going to let that fill up to about an inch away from the top with the rainwater, and then get the lid on the top of that. Mark up when we actually started it so we know that it's been at least 3 to 4 weeks. And we should have a nutritional liquor feed that we can then water down 1 part to 10 when we're feeding our brassica plants. It works, folks. There we go, nettle tea. There's the date it was started. A foliar feed, so you've to dilute that with rainwater, 1 part feed to 10 parts water, or rather 1 in 9. If you're using a 10 litre watering can like we are, we put a litre of that in, and then 9 litres of the rainwater. And it's for brassicas and leafy vegetables. Good stuff, high in nitrogen. Now there's some we made much earlier of the nettle tea. I'm in my own shadow there. As you can see, they're 21st of the 5th, 2021. So that's 11 months old, that, or coming up for 11 months old. So let's have a look. I would say hold your nose, boys and girls, and I hope you don't have smelly vision. That doesn't seem to smell too bad, actually, that. They usually stink to high heaven. But that's the liquor. So what we use is we use a bucket with no holes in it, obviously. A good standard bucket. Put the sieve in. That's a 5mm sieve. So we stick that in the top. We'll need a couple of those, which are the sort of, I think the 6 pint milk jugs. We need a couple of those. The liquor in its bucket, a measuring jug just to pour with, and some gloves, some powder free latex gloves, because you don't want to get that stuff on your hands, it stinks. Alright, so what we'll be doing is obviously we're going to be taking the liquor out of there, sieving it through there, so you're just getting the liquid left behind, and all the bits and particles, or the majority of the bits and particles are sieved out of that, and then that will be decanted then via the jug into that milk bottle. Alright, let's go.
Alright, now the liquor's gone through the sieve. All the liquid has gone through all the particles, or the vast majority are left behind. Now, here's a tip, don't let that dry in there. Don't leave it in there. Okay, straight in to the compost with it. The compost bin. And that's gone on top of our eggshells and some of the remaining stinging nettle. So it's going to have a double dose of stinging nettle, that. Tip that in. And we're going to wash that out straight away as well, as soon as we finish bottling up. Alright, so let's get back to our little buckets. And there's our liquor in there, sieved to a great degree. That's going to be transported then, decanted with that, into our milk bottle, which is here. So I'll get on with that now, and you'll see how it looks. There we go. That's well over 8 litres, or around about, what, 14 pints? 14 pints, I'd say, of organic, liquid, natural, fertilising, nutrifying liquid feed for your plants. Certainly for your brassica plants. That's a 5 litre, and that's a 3.4 litre bottle, and it costs nothing, absolutely nothing. Just a little bit of effort, a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, only a little bit. It doesn't cost anything to produce organic feed for your plants. It's the way forward, boys and girls. Same with the eggshells. Now, that's exactly the same process when we're doing the Comfrey. So if you've got some Comfrey, yeah, that's Comfrey. We harvested that from the wild as well. It was growing down the lane at the side. But it's the same process. Too early to harvest it yet, the Comfrey. But once that grows a little bit bigger, in about a month's time, we'll be harvesting that. And that'll be used for the tomatoes down the line as a liquid feed. 1 part to 10, same as the water. Sorry, same as the nettles. Alright, so that's good for the fruiting plants. In the same way that the eggshells are, you know, the ground up eggshells. It's got calcium in it, but the Comfrey there has got lots and lots of different powerful nutrients in it, the Comfrey. And so yeah, we'll be using that for sure. The Comfrey. We've still got some Comfrey there actually over there. I can just spot it there. It's a couple of the old liquors. Yeah. So I've got 12 pints of Comfrey feed over there as well. Keep growing with your heads down, boys and girls, and remember we love you all. Take care of yourselves and each other. Alright. But get cracking. Get organic growing for yourselves. It's the way forward. Bye bye now. Have a great week. See you later. Oh, don't forget to comment, like and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber to the Little Farmer's Farm. Catch you later, boys and girls. Ta-da. There you have it, boys and girls. Mother Nature knows best. And it's 100% free, which is always the best price to pay, isn't it? When it's free. And there are other things that you can use. You can gather seaweed, as long as it's well washed up and it's obviously dead seaweed. You can gather that. Forest floor scrapings as well, which is leaf mulch. Bits of twig, you can use that. You can use the molehills to grow in. But for the nutrition side of things, yeah, there's a lot of plants that can be used and harvested for organic liquid feeds especially. Okay. Take care of yourselves and each other's. Don't forget to comment, like and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. If you are a subscriber, please hit the bell notification button so you don't miss another exciting episode with me and my chums down in Eden on the Little Farmer's Farm. Take care everybody and have a cracking week. Bye bye now. And there's the bed all weeded. Now I've spoke about this before, where that tube is there into the ground, that's going to be the new width of that bed. It's going to be extended that way and still retaining the sort of 12 to 14 feet. I think it's 12 feet going that way, and it'll be 8 feet, so it'll be 8 feet by 12 feet, and we'll be getting one of the netted hoop tents, the brassica tents, the big ones, the walking brassica tents, in that position. But at least it's weeded now. Stay tuned next week for more glorious weeds. But what I may do is I may cardboard it over, because the dandelion season's fast approaching. Next couple of weeks the dandelions will be hatching, and we don't want them on the plots because they'll be absolutely everywhere. So yeah, I'm going to probably put some cardboard down in it. I've got loads of cardboard down there just to cover the bed up and act as a weed membrane. Right, happy days.